Hello, everybody. Fun episode coming up with the Earful Tower. My name is Oliver G., your host, and I interview people in Paris who have stories to tell, who do interesting things. Today's guest is a great example of that. It is Allie Goodbun, a dancer at the Moulin Rouge. She's been there for 2.5 years from Canada, and she shares with us what it's like to do that job, what it's like to live in Montmartre, and also what it's like to have an exceptionally engaging and popular social media following too. Allie Goodbun is her name. Dancing is her game. Let me introduce her to you here on the Earful Tower podcast, brought to you by very generous Patreon supporters from around the world. Thanks very much to all the supporters. Let's get into the episode. Here we go. Allie Goodbun, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I put a dramatic pause there for no reason whatsoever.
Okay.
Speaking of drama.
Yeah.
Moulin Rouge?
Moulin
Bit
Rouge.
of drama?
A lot of drama.
So what's you've been there for a couple of years now.
Yeah, it's been 2.5 years.
Okay, and that's going to be one of the first topics. But first, welcome to the Earful Tower podcast.
Thank you.
I was going through our chat thread. We've been talking for a long time.
Yeah, well, I was talking to you earlier, but I have been listening to this podcast for years now, myself, and leading up to my move to Paris, it was throughout the pandemic. So
that makes me really happy to hear.
Yeah,
so,
I spent my days listening to your stuff, just getting excited to move here. So
I'm really excited
it's a
to hear
full circle
that.
moment.
Good. Okay, well, full circle. Let's talk about Paris first.
Yep.
It's hard to talk about Paris without starting with the Moulin Rouge, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
Because it seems to me that you love this city.
I do.
And I'm going to start with a compliment. Your energy on social media is like it's a dream. Like it's a real happiness.
Thanks.
And it's a happy side of sharing Paris that I don't know how you do it.
I mean, a lot of mixed reviews from other people, but yeah, I genuinely love big cities. Paris has been a dream forever now, and I think it's the most romanticized city in the world, so why not?
And what do you like about this city?
I love the hustle. I love how international it is. I really do. I feel like I live in a little bit of a bubble up in the 18th, but when I get out, I try to get out every single day, and I absolutely love it, but I do love going back home to my little bubble of English-speaking friends, but I get a little hint of everything I feel, and because I work at a very international, renowned company, I guess here in Paris, as you could basically describe the Moulin Rouge as, our whole cast is international, and I'm sure we'll get to that later on, but I have friends from all over the world here, so I feel like, yes, I'm living the French life as everybody is here in Paris, but I'm also learning a lot about Australia, the UK, the rest of Europe through living in Paris. So it's a really cool perspective I have living here, but just everything from the architecture, I'm sure, as everybody says, the big city life, the hustle and bustle. I'm a big bike rider, so I love biking the city. I just love it. I love everything about it. So
did you have this love for Paris before you moved here?
To be honest with you, I had visited Paris back in high school for the first time, and I was actually on a Europe trip with my school for my graduating year. And we visited Paris for 3 days, and I remember being here. I remember the feeling of the city. I remember loving it, but I never considered that I would be a place that I would live in the future, which is just so interesting to think back to. And it's interesting also because when I was on that trip, I didn't take it in. I was just following our tour guide. Yeah. So I wasn't figuring out how to take the metro places or how we were getting from A to B. I was just hopping on the bus and going from place to place. So I wasn't really taking in the in-betweens of the city. It was more
didn't leave one of those marks on you
it didn't
come back.
Exactly. But then when I saw the Moulin Rouge opportunity to audition, I jumped on it right away. There was no hesitation. So
were you living in Canada at the time?
I was.
Okay, so take me back to the moment when you got contacted to say, pack your bags, come to Paris, you got the job.
It's quite a confusing, not confusing. It's a long story, to be honest with you.
Let's hear the short one.
But the short one is I basically saw the posting for the Moulin Rouge and went to the audition, did it, was given the job 6 months later over email. Super excited, but the timing of it actually panned out to happen right as COVID-19 was kind of slowly panning out across the world.
Right.
And literally 2 weeks before I was supposed to move here, everything shut down.
Ah, what a drag.
Which was super unfortunate. And at the time I was like, you're kidding. I could not believe it. But when I think about it in the long term, I think it was actually a very beneficial thing for me. I spent 2 years staying motivated to get to Paris, and they were maintaining my contract, and they kind of just said, when we open back up, we'll let you know and you'll come, but we don't know when that will be. Wow. So I spent 2 years training as hard as I could in my living room because there was no gyms open. Yeah. Canada was very shut down. Yeah. So we didn't even have dance studios. We didn't even have access to some parks. So like I was in my living room studying for university, working out, doing dance classes. My living room was carpet floor, mind you. So I was in my heels that I would wear at the Moulin, training as much as I could.
Did they send you like all the dance steps and all the outfits? Or
no, they sent me nothing because they wanted me to have the full experience of coming to Moulin and learning in person.
Right.
And they also didn't want to pressure me to jump on anything beforehand. So I was just doing my own training, and
What a weird entry to Paris.
It was so interesting.
You know that you got a cool job.
Yeah.
And it ends up taking 2 years?
2 years.
Oh my goodness. That is a weird story. Yeah. Okay.
But then randomly, like everybody, I just got an email one Friday afternoon being like, hey, we're actually reopening next month.
You
and
start at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, literally. And I was like, you're kidding.
So let's do a comparison now. You get here, you're not so long ago, a couple years ago, first show at the Moulin Rouge. You go out, the lights come on, first time.
Yeah.
Walk me through. I've never danced in front of
it. Is the craziest feeling. It's the craziest feeling. Something really cool about the Moulin Rouge is that when you are learning the show, you learn it it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to learn all the choreography, learn your spot on stage, learn all the costume changes. And there's not only choreography on stage, but there's also choreography backstage. Like you have to know your cues, your exits. You have to make sure you're not in other people's way. And if you've ever seen the Moulin Rouge, the costumes are massive. There's so much moving and people going and coming. So you just need to be in the right spot at all times. So that also takes a minute to learn. Once everything is in place, they actually give you the option to be like, are you ready to go on stage? Which is cool because a lot of dance companies, professional dance companies say like, this is your starting day and you have to be ready that's our opening night, or like, this is when everybody goes on. Whereas it's unique because at the Moulin, they kind of say when you're ready and when you feel confident, you'll go on stage. So it took, I only came with one other girl, and it took us 10 days to learn everything and have our first night. So
how, like, do people say no? Do people go, not yet?
Some people say like, I just need 2 more days, or
because I imagine I don't know, but I imagine the personality of what's the official term? Is it cabaret?
Yeah.
Cabaret dancer?
Yeah.
I imagine if you get into cabaret dancing and maybe dancing in general, you maybe have a kind of maybe not exhibitionist, but you want to perform.
Exactly.
Right? So like it would strike me as strange that people...
Exactly. I think it's super exciting to come to the point where you're like, I'm ready. But when you actually think about like everything that needs to go into it, and also you have to keep in mind that you've been practicing with just one other girl. Yeah. So like to go from practicing with just one other person in the dance studio to doing it on a stage with 60 people.
So let's talk about that first night. You go out there, lights come up. How are you feeling? Is it just the best thing ever?
It's the best thing ever. It's so cool. You don't really realize how big the audience actually is at our theater. It holds over 1,000 people, and we do 2 shows a night. So that first feeling, you're like, wow. And it's cool because it's an intimate theater. You can see the people's faces, which is something that I've never experienced as well. Like majority of theaters back home in North America are very bright, very stage lit, and the audience is set back in standard theater seats.
Right.
So it's on stage, it's very dark. It's like you're looking into a dark hole. Whereas at the Moulin, people are sitting 2 inches from the stage edge all around. Yeah. And because the room is slightly smaller than the average theater because of its age, essentially, you can see it's well lit. You can see everybody's faces. And if my mom is sitting in the back right corner, I spot her in seconds. Like it's
quick wink.
A quick wink. And then we've acknowledged each other, and I know she's there and she knows I know. And like, it's really cool. So I think that was what kind of surprised me. I was like, oh my God, I can really feed off of the audience's energy here. Which I love.
That's what my next question was. What makes it good? I think I've seen you put this on social media before. What makes it good? Talk to the people out there who come to see you. What makes what should we do in the crowd?
I rely on the audience's energy like no other. We do the same show twice a night, 6 days a week. So I have to find ways to keep it interesting and to kind of keep my mind going and perform for somebody that seems really invested in the performance. Yeah. So to be that person, it's essentially somebody that's smiling and I can tell that's genuinely excited to be there are the people that I'll be performing to the most. Yeah. And I also really try to acknowledge, I just think about if I'm in the front row of a show and I'm like, oh my God, I'm at the Moulin Rouge or whatever it may be, or I'm at a show and I'm showing I'm showing on my face how excited I am to be there. I can see when the performers look at me, they feel it right back and they give me that much more energy. So I really just think of it from the other perspective. But yeah, the audience member that is clapping, cheering, I can see in their face that their face just lights up. My favorite thing is when we go and the lights turn on and people's jaws drop. That is like my absolute favorite thing.
What do you mean, at the start? Or?
Right at the start. Like the first, like right at the start of our show, there's a 60 of us, 65 of us in like sparkles head to toe. And we just come like strutting forward and you just do not, it comes out of nowhere and you just don't believe it. So the people that are like, oh my God, and their jaw drops to the floor, I'm like, okay,
I will be here for you.
Exactly. I will be performing for you and you will be getting your money's worth because
that's good feedback. That's good.
I love it.
Have you ever thought like there's something in business where they say, the person who seems the least interested is the one to target. Have you ever thought that? Sometimes I really try to crack a smile. And obviously the odd time you'll have a really hard audience where like, it's a little more quiet. Maybe it's like a Monday night. Like they haven't done much or like they're not drinking that much champagne because they work tomorrow. Like, I don't know. Right.
So you have a few harder audiences here and there. And those are the people I really try to crack and I really try to get something out of them. But
it's cool that there's this interaction.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. You speak, and sorry to put this on you, but you speak of someone who really loves the Moulin Rouge. I don't know if that's part of the job description or if it seems sincere to me. Is that something to do with the history of it? Is it a sincere love of this?
I love it. I really do love it. I think everything from the history of it, which is amazing and super cool that it's continued its tradition of cabaret dance into like this modern day. It really doesn't exist anywhere else other than Paris, France in general, but more so Paris. And then also being a Canadian, like I didn't grow up learning about this. So it's been like a cool learning curve for me as well as an adult. I'm like, this is super interesting. And I thought I had learned everything there was to dance by the time I was 16. Little did I know there's a whole other world here in Europe. But back to the Moulin. Like I just think it's crazy how it's continued its history and tradition into today's day and age. I think it's amazing that they've been able to bring girls from Canada, from Australia, from the UK, from all over the world to come to one place to just kind of share our love for dance every single night. From a dancer's perspective, it's also interesting because a lot of professional dance jobs are seasonal. As if you can recall, lots of Christmas shows or Broadway shows, they run for a season and then that's it. And then you're out of luck and you don't have a job. And then come that time, the show is closed and you have to go and audition for the next thing. Whereas Moulin is unique in a sense that the show
keeps going on.
It's been going for 135 years this coming year, I'm pretty sure. And it's sold out every single night. So,
you know, something I've recently been thinking about cabaret, especially in Paris in general, like Moulin, like, so imagine you don't work at the Moulin Rouge for a second and you're just a tourist here. And there's like a handful of cabaret shows that are yours is by far the most popular. Then there's some that are popular. And then there is a whole bunch that aren't popular whatsoever, where there's like room for 12 in the audience. Have you ever gone to them? Would you ever go to them? And who goes to them? I'm fascinated by this.
It's an interesting topic because, to be honest with you, on my nights off, I do love seeing shows, but I do need moments of like, okay, I actually cannot be in the theater tonight. I need to be outside. So oftentimes I feel that way where I need a break from the theater. But on the flip side, I also love going to shows to like feel inspired, to like fuel me for my week ahead because I've had the flip side perspective of being an audience member. As for cabarets specifically, I've been to a few in the city. I've seen Crazy Horse. I've seen Paradis Latin. I've seen, what else? I've seen Nouvelev. I think that's actually it. But some of the smaller ones I would actually love to see. I need to learn more about it myself, to be honest with you, because I haven't had a chance to.
I wonder what. It can't be tourist going. It has to be French people.
I don't know. You actually might be right. You might be right. I think it's French people not from Paris. I think French people visiting Paris.
Could be,
from the rest of France, but I actually don't know. I would love to meet somebody that's in a smaller show so that I could have like.
Maybe one of them's listening. Get in touch. Get in touch with Allie.
I would love to come. I would love to.
So I want to talk about your energy for a second because you said you do 2 shows a night. So 2 shows a night. These are intense. You're training for these shows. What, based on what you share online, looks like an athlete level preparation. I assume you got to watch what you eat and what you drink and so on. How the heck do you have energy for anything else? Not least running social media channels really well and engagingly.
Thank you.
Launching a clothing line, I guess. Firstly, I want to know the secret because I want more energy. I mean, there's an age difference here, but what's the secret first?
Yeah, it's a lot. And also the past year, especially because this is when I've picked up my TikTok and Instagram a little bit more, and I've taken them more seriously. I've been posting every day. And then also my business. It's something I started at the end of last year. So that's only been a recent thing, but I'm still really trying to navigate how I properly take time for myself, how I take time to rest, when I actually do shut those things off. And honestly, since December, it's just been go, go, go. And I don't watch Netflix because I just don't have time. Like there's things like that I forfeit. That's literally the answer. I don't
Netflix.
I haven't listened to podcasts in the past 3 months, and I haven't been watching anything because I genuinely do not have time nor like mental capacity to do anything else. But honestly, to keep up with it, I just prioritize what I enjoy doing. And I think, I don't know, I try to really think about this myself as well because I'm still trying to navigate it and again, find moments where I actually do rest. Like I'm slowly getting to this point where I'm like, Fridays are my day off. I actually don't want to even like really post or take videos on Fridays. Like I just need that day to like have coffee with friends, enjoy the sunshine, be outside, not dance.
Well, that's the other thing because you're sharing that you're really doing things around Paris as well, which is great. I mean, like when I see and by the way, people who want to check you out on TikTok, Instagram, what's your name there?
At Allie Goodbun.
I'll be linking it in the show notes. People will probably look as they're listening.
Thank you.
But it's not just like, oh, look, sunset on the Seine. This is like daily vlog kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You've provided an insight as well into the Moulin Rouge, which I don't think existed before.
Yep.
Even
no,
recently.
it doesn't, and
so you've got what you're doing that's really cool is it feels, especially because I used to live in Montmartre as well, not far from the Moulin Rouge, and I love that.
It's the best.
I love it. I couldn't do it now with having strollers and stuff. It's like it's perfect for when you're.
It's a moment in your 20s or 30s. It's a moment that you need to have.
Yeah, and then fortunately, it seems like a lot of older people get that moment too. Mm-hmm. Do you get that around that where you live, like the full-time old timers?
I kind of love it. I kind of love it. It's a part of the neighborhood for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but like at the age of 35 to 55, it's somewhere else. Yeah. Yep. But you share all this like the life up there. You got the life in Montmartre, you got the Moulin Rouge. It's like a movie.
Yeah, it does.
Have the movies reached out to you yet?
I mean, I would love a little Allie in Paris situation.
You gotta do something different.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
But I think also being in Paris, it's easy. It's like, it's so easy to do that. And I don't know if you find this as well. Like every street you turn down, people say this all the time, it's so picturesque. There's a story behind every building. I bike Paris every single day. I think I've actually been on every single street in the city at least twice. Like I see the city for myself and I know it very well because I've been doing that. But honestly, I bike around a corner and I'm like, I've been on this street, but I've never noticed that cafe or I've never noticed that boutique. And I take a mental note of it and I always go back and like explore it a little bit more. And for me, it's just like out of personal like curiosity. I'm just, and I share that. And I just also try to just share my perspective to not only share it with my audience, but I also just like documenting in that sense. Like,
true.
I love going back to my TikToks that I've made a year ago, and I'm like, oh, what did I do on this day? And I watch and I'm like, oh my goodness, my makeup routine has changed. Or like, oh my goodness, I don't shop there anymore, but like I did once. Like, it's interesting in all aspects of Moulin Rouge, life in Paris, also just living abroad. It's interesting how things change, and it's cool to document it.
And also, as time goes, like you get different interests.
Yeah.
So that when you go down the same street you've been down 400 times, you suddenly see the shop that sells something that's suddenly an interest or an architectural kind of thing. People ask me on this show, they go, because I've been doing this for, I don't know, 6, 7 something years, every week an episode, and people are like, how do you have ideas? I'm like, are you kidding me? If you can't find 1,000 ideas in Paris.
Endless. Yeah. It's endless. And this is exactly what I'm saying. Like it's the exact same thing. I literally can go grocery shopping and there's content to be made. And it's interesting to people. And I think because it's so different from North America, and Paris is like stuck in this time warp. And I know you've probably talked about this before, but I just feel like life is going on outside of Paris and it's keeping up with the times, a little bit slower than everywhere else. But I don't know. I just feel like we're stuck in this like...
Especially Montmartre,
exactly where I live.
Especially because you're at the Moulin Rouge. You're like stuck in, what's 125 years ago? What's that, 135 did you say?
135, yeah.
That's where your world is.
I know.
It's like that Midnight in Paris movie or something.
I know. And it's, I don't know. I feel like I share it from a very like authentic place because when it goes back to my time in the pandemic, all I was doing was dancing in my living room, but also keeping up with podcasts like yours, keeping up with other people's social networks that like Anna Klutz was one of them. She was living in Paris during the pandemic. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can get a little slice of like what it feels like to be there. And I would just follow her stories religiously. Like I was on her Instagram every single night watching what she did to just like live through it through her, because I wasn't there, but I felt like I was there. So
that's that kind of vicarious living.
Yeah.
A lot of people who don't even like, I mean, you had that you were going to move here in 2 years. It was so tangible. Like you were counting down the days, even though there wasn't an end date, but it was coming. You knew it was coming. I think a lot of the Francophiles and Paris lovers out there, people listening to us talking right now, they're probably nodding.
Yeah.
People love to live vicariously through people to get to this city.
They do.
The allure of Paris. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either, but it exists, and it exists for a lot of people. But every time I post, I just try to give that, because I know how it feels being on the flip side and watching it.
Here's a question. What do you hate about Paris? Let's kill that energy.
Honestly,
no, I'm kidding, but I'm interested.
Honestly, it's a very hard question for me. I would say the only thing that I'm like, is like, I wish my hometown was 2 hours away on the train. Yep. That's one thing I'm sure you honestly feel the same way being Australian. Yeah. That's the only thing. I'm like, the people that have families that live in London, I am so jealous. I am so jealous. Yet I would never change my like home life in Canada, because I do love the Canadian roots, and I love being from a really small country town.
Whereabouts are you from?
It's called Woodstock, Ontario. It's a small town of like 50,000 people.
What a difference as well.
The most different, most different. I couldn't explain it. It's so different.
So, what is your family like? Being a dancer and being on the stage, did your family think like, Allie was destined for something like this, or are they kind of like, what is she doing at the Moulin Rouge?
No, they definitely knew. I think from like a very young age, everybody would always ask me growing up what I wanted to be when I was older. And to be honest with you, I would always resort to teacher or dentist, because my mom was a teacher and my grandpa was a dentist. Right. So I was just pulling from like jobs my family did, only to get and like, oh, okay, from the rest of the people. But like in my head, I was like, I'm never working a 9-to-5 job. Like I knew that from a very young age. And I think I let my mom in on that a little bit. And she would always say like, I don't know, she was very strong opinion. She really wanted me to go to university. That was a very important thing for her. Right. And because she's a teacher, she strongly knows the importance of getting an education and doing all the things. And she really wanted me to go to university for something other than dance, just to have something in my back pocket for the day my body doesn't work anymore. And I could not be more thankful that she pushed me in that direction, because now I have a degree in kinesiology, not using it, but it's there. And like when I'm 50 years old and kind of done with dancing, or whenever the day may come, I can be like, you know what, maybe I'll open my physio clinic now, or like something.
What's the retirement age for dancers? I know some dancers at the Moulin keep going.
It's all over the place. It really depends on the style of dance you do. For Moulin specifically, I'm working with people that are in their like mid to late 40s at the moment. Dancing. Wow. Every single night. Some of them are even principal dancers.
So what are you? What's your term?
I'm a can-can dancer.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember you said that you, like a while back, something had changed, or you got a promotion or something. There was something exciting.
Basically, it's confusing for people that are not in the dance world, but
try me.
I'll try you. So basically, as a can-can dancer, every single night I walk into work assuming I'm going to do the can-can, which is essentially a set 10 routines that I do. Same costume, same whatever, but I always dance in a group. We're dressed the same. I'm basically like an ensemble member, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
And then whenever there's a whole other dancer line of more mature dancers that have been there for longer, and they have the privilege of being paid the same, yet they don't need to bust their bodies and do the can-can every night.
Okay, because there'll be people who don't know what the can-can is. What is it?
The French can-can is the craziest dance you'll probably ever seen. It's high energy, it's kicking, it's cartwheeling, it's jumping into the splits. Yep. It is the most athletic dance style I've ever done in my entire life. Right. And it involves everything from like acro to like gymnastics to like jazz to like the most performance. It's a mixture of everything, and it's crazy. It's wild. It's a celebratory dance. It's crazy. And it's a very iconic French cabaret.
Created in Paris. I think I've seen the grave of the woman.
Yep.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's all from the Moulin Rouge, which is even cooler. So any French can-can you've ever heard of or seen, or that rhythm that everybody does the little kicks with, is all from the Moulin.
Okay, so any given night, you know you're going to be one of the 10, but...
Yes, but the odd time when somebody's sick on the other dancer line, I get the option of moving over and doing the other set of 10 numbers that they do.
Yeah, okay.
So basically I know 20 group routines in the show. It just depends on what 10 I'm going to be doing performing
Good Lord.
each night.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, we have 2 promotions above that, and basically they're soloist. There's 2 soloists in every single show, and they essentially are at the front of the stage wearing a different costume, and they're kind of like in the spotlight. They're the girls that are a little bit more technical dancers. They do a lot of lifts and partner work with the boys. They're highlighted dancers in the show. And then beyond that, we have 3 singers, and they're the principal dancers, I guess you could say, and they're basically singing, leading the show, performing
Okay.
at the very front in the spotlight with the soloist.
And you've done the soloist?
So I've done the soloist and the principal role, and I'm just the replacement. So
Okay.
I am
not the understudy because you dance as well. I get it. I'm with you.
So every single night I go in, assuming I need to do the ensemble group can type show, and then the odd time they might be like, Allie, you're on. And
so when you've done, this perfectly leads to what I started with actually, because I started by saying, let's do a comparison. I asked you about your first night there. Let's do a comparison to when you did the first time you were really in the spotlight, filling in for someone.
Yeah.
Talk me through it. How does it feel? Talk me through it as someone I've never. Okay, there's people out there who've never done anything at all in front of a crowd. The most I've ever done is maybe 100 people interviewing someone.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
What's going through? What's happening?
It's the craziest thing. The first night you do something like that, it's the craziest feeling. You essentially shut the audience out. It is not what you're thinking about. What I'm thinking about is A, the choreography, B, making sure the people around me are okay with what I'm doing on my spot. You have to be very socially and spatially aware, because you need to make sure you're not hitting somebody, or you're stepping with the wrong foot, or you're grabbing the wrong boy's hand to do partner work. You have to be very aware of your surroundings. And that's really tricky when you're doing a new role, because maybe you've gotten used to staying more to the right because you're in the group. But when you're doing the solos, you have to be more to the front. So different things like that. There's so many details that come with it. And on that first night, it's very nerve-wracking to put it all together. That's the hardest part. And having the pressure of the audience watching you is a whole other added aspect. So on the first night, I kind of zone out of that, and I just pretend I'm in my own world doing my own thing.
But now that you've got your sort of head around it.
Yeah. And then now once you get used to it, I've been doing it now for 2.5 years. And then certain roles, I started doing the soloist role, just replacing it. So whenever they need somebody to step up, if somebody's sick or on holidays.
Do you just switch off now? And you just live in the moment. You don't think about, oh, I haven't done my tax return. I'll do that when I get home.
Honestly, sometimes I'm like, I get to a point in the show where I'm like, oh, what am I having for dinner? And I'm like, oh, wait, what's my foot doing? Like things like that.
Yeah.
There's a few roles though that I really have to actively think about, just because again, you're in the front, you're in the spotlight, you have to be on, you have to be 110%, and you're not blending in with anybody.
It must be nice as well. Like if you're one of 10 and you're all dressed the same, and if you got friends or family visiting and they're sitting at the back, is it hard to spot you, I imagine?
I would say yes. And some people do have a hard time.
Yeah. But you were great at the start, I think, when you're on the left. You're like, yeah.
That's why whenever I have friends and family coming, I really try to be like, could I be on soloist or could I be on principal?
Right.
Just because it is really fun to share that moment of being in the spotlight and have somebody rooting for you.
Yeah.
That in the audience. But yeah, it's a cool dynamic, and I'm in a very good position where it's nice. Every time I go into work, even though it's the same show, I feel like I'm doing such a different show, literally every single night, because I switch between 5 different roles at the moment, and I'm just replacing all of them, and it's almost become a thing where I'm like, first show the first night, second show the second night, third show, and it's just it's a rotating 5 nights. So it's cool.
What about now? You're talking to people who are coming to Paris. They're thinking of things to do. Who should come and see the Moulin Rouge and who maybe shouldn't?
The cool thing about Moulin, and I know this is a very generic answer, but the cool thing about Moulin is that I think it caters to everybody.
Yep.
You could be, for instance, my dad has seen the show multiple times. He loves watching me dance. He wouldn't necessarily go to a dance show if I wasn't in it. He could not care for a musical, but the show blew him away. And same with my brother.
Yeah.
Could not care for a musical, could not care for a dance show to save his life, and also my brother, he's seen me dance so many times, he's just like, whatever. But the show blew them away. And I think that's the really cool thing about the Moulin. We have the dance aspect of the show. It's a very dance-heavy show. But because of the tradition and the historic element that it brings, also we have attractions. We have 3 attractions that are always kind of coming and going, which adds it's like circus type acts.
Yeah.
So it's like this added wow factor that you just do not expect. And we have everything from jugglers to handstand balance people to rollerblade duo to people that use the sear wheel. There's so many added elements to it that you just it blows you away.
Well, then the short answer is everybody should come and see it.
Everybody. I really do think everybody enjoys the show.
And similarly, everybody should follow you on social media for a bright spark of Paris in their social feed. Last question I have to ask. The film, Moulin Rouge. Love it, hate it, don't care.
Love it. I watched it during the pandemic. Actually, I hadn't seen it before I booked the job, to be honest, which is interesting. I'm honestly, like I said, I'm not really a TV movie person.
Yeah.
I've always been the type that I'm just like, I have other things to do.
Yeah.
But I knew it was obviously...
Have you watched it again since you've been working
I haven't.
I wonder what you'd think.
And I should.
Yeah.
I know. I really should.
Have you seen Amelie?
No.
Okay, these are
movies I really do need to. I know.
Although it seems that your success is keeping away from TV and movies, so don't take my advice. But there's two that might make for good watching. Listen, Allie, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Time went quickly; it usually does, but it was really great to hear your story.
Thank
Keep
you
doing
so
what
much.
you're doing.
Thanks so much for having me.
So there you have it, Allie Goodbun. You can find her links to everything that she does down in the show notes below. And be sure to check out the show, the Moulin Rouge, when you are in town. It is a great evening, really fun. I've seen the show. I loved it. That'll do for this week. A huge thank you to the members of this show on Patreon, even on Substack, people who keep these wheels spinning. I'll be back again. That's patreon.com/the Earful Tower, or just search the Earful Tower on Substack. That is how everything keeps working. To all you members, a million merci from me to you. I recorded a bunch of extras with Allie for Patreon members, so you can go and hear that extra episode, the latest in a series of extra episodes with recent guests, by signing up and being a member. That'll do for now. My name's Oliver G, and this is the Earful Tower. Thank you very much for listening.